The wind rustled through the towering pine trees surrounding Harold Thompson's home, a small, weathered cabin tucked away in the quiet countryside of Montana. The house had been in his family for generations, built by his grandfather and passed down through the years. It wasn't much, just a simple wooden structure with a wide porch, a stone fireplace, and a backyard that stretched far beyond what the eye could see. But to Harold, it was home. At 65, Harold had come to appreciate the solitude of his remote little world. Life here moved slowly, the days marked not by deadlines or schedules but by the rhythm of the seasons and the rising and setting of the sun. He'd wake up early, pour himself a strong cup of coffee, and settle into his rocking chair on the porch, watching as the morning mist rolled off the hills. The only company he needed was the one that sat faithfully by his side every morning, a 6-year-old golden retriever named Benny. Benny was no ordinary dog. With a thick caramel-colored coat that glowed in the sunlight and warm, expressive eyes, he had the kind of presence that made a house feel like a home. He had been a gift from Harold's daughter, Lisa, given to him not long after his wife had passed. Lisa had worried about her father being alone, but Harold had assured her he was fine. "I've got all the company I need right here," he'd say, scratching Benny behind the ears. And in many ways, it was true. The bond between man and dog had grown strong over the years. Benny followed Harold everywhere, out to the garden when he checked on his tomato plants, down the dirt path to the mailbox, even to the small grocery store in town when Harold made his rare visits. But more than anything else, Benny loved food. Not just his own food, though he never turned down a meal, but human food, especially the snacks Harold kept stashed around the house. It had started off as an innocent habit. A shared peanut butter sandwich here, a bit of beef jerky there. But over time, Benny had become something of a connoisseur of snacks, always watching Harold carefully, waiting for just the right moment to claim his share. Harold would often chuckle and shake his head, telling the dog, "One of these days, you're gonna figure out how to order food all by yourself." What Harold didn't realize then was just how close that joke would come to the truth. It all began on one of Lisa's visits. She didn't come often, her job in Seattle kept her busy, but when she did, she always tried to make sure her father was keeping up with the modern world. "Dad, you really need to start using online grocery delivery," she told him one afternoon, setting up his tablet. "It's easy. You just tap what you want, and someone brings it to your door. No more long drives into town." Harold had grumbled about it, resistant to the idea of technology replacing good old-fashioned shopping. But Lisa had a way of wearing him down. Before he knew it, she had downloaded the app, showed him how to use it, and even linked it to his credit card. "Now you don't even have to type anything," she explained. "You can just talk to it. Try saying, 'Alexa, order dog treats.'" Harold had rolled his eyes but humored her. "Alexa, order dog treats." "Ordering dog treats," the voice had responded. "Arriving tomorrow." Benny, watching from the corner of the room, had perked up at the sound. His tail wagged, ears flicking forward in interest. The moment was small, insignificant even. But if Harold had been paying closer attention, he might have noticed something in Benny's eyes, a spark of curiosity, intelligence, and maybe even understanding. Because that moment, as simple as it seemed, was the first step toward a kind of trouble Harold had never imagined. It started with a small, seemingly insignificant mistake. Harold Thompson had never been one for technology. He still preferred flipping through the newspaper rather than reading the news on a screen, and the idea of shopping online seemed ridiculous to him. But Lisa had insisted. "Dad, it's the 21st century," she'd said. "You don't have to drive an hour into town just to buy peanut butter." So, against his better judgment, Harold had let her set up his tablet with the grocery delivery app. She had walked him through the process, showing him how he could browse items, add them to his cart, and check out with a single tap. But what really fascinated Benny, his ever-curious golden retriever, was the voice-activated assistant Lisa had linked to the account. "It's like magic, Dad," she had said, demonstrating. "You just talk to it. Like this, Alexa, order dog treats." Harold had watched with mild disapproval as the small device lit up and responded, "Ordering dog treats. Arriving tomorrow." Lisa had grinned. "See? No effort at all." Harold, however, had scoffed. "Effort is what keeps people sharp. You start relying on machines for everything, and the next thing you know, you can't even tie your own shoes." But what neither Harold nor Lisa had noticed was Benny's reaction. As soon as the device spoke, Benny's ears had perked up. His tail wagged, and his deep brown eyes flicked from Lisa to the tablet screen, then back again. The dog wasn't just interested, he was learning. A few days after Lisa left, Harold had settled into his usual routine. He made his coffee, fed Benny, and spent the afternoon working on an old rocking chair that needed repairs. He had almost forgotten about the whole online shopping thing, until the first unexpected package arrived. "Delivery for Mr. Thompson," the young man at the door said, holding out a medium-sized brown box. Harold frowned. "I didn't order anything." "Well, it's got your name on it." Benny stood by Harold's side, tail wagging as the box was brought inside. The moment Harold set it down on the kitchen table, Benny let out an excited bark. That was the first thing that made Harold suspicious. When he cut open the tape and pulled back the flaps, he found 3 large bags of peanut butter dog treats. Harold blinked. "Now, hold on just a minute." He turned to Benny, who was practically vibrating with excitement, eyes locked on the treats as though he knew exactly what was inside. "No," Harold muttered, shaking his head. "That's ridiculous." He sat down with the tablet, scrolling through his order history. Sure enough, there it was, one confirmed order for dog treats, placed the night before at 11:42 p.m. Now, this puzzled Harold. At 11:42 p.m., he had been asleep. Harold dismissed the incident as a mistake. Maybe he had accidentally pressed something earlier in the day. He made a mental note to be more careful with the tablet. But then, a few days later, another package arrived. This time, it was a jumbo-sized jar of peanut butter, the exact kind Harold used to spread on toast every morning. And then, the following week, a bulk order of beef jerky. By now, Harold was starting to feel downright confused. He checked his email receipts, hoping to find some logical explanation. Maybe Lisa had placed the orders by mistake? But she swore she hadn't touched the account. "Well, someone's been ordering them," Harold grumbled, staring at the tablet. He looked down at Benny, who was sitting by the kitchen counter, watching him expectantly. Then, an absurd thought crossed his mind. "No," Harold muttered to himself. "No, that's impossible." But the doubt lingered. So, that night, Harold came up with a plan. He left the tablet unlocked and set up a small camera in the kitchen. If there really was some kind of glitch, he wanted proof. Then, just before heading to bed, he placed a jar of peanut butter on the counter, a test. The next morning, Harold poured himself a cup of coffee and sat down to watch the footage. For the first few hours, nothing happened. The kitchen sat still and quiet, illuminated only by the soft glow of the stove light. Then, just past midnight, Benny walked into the frame. Harold leaned forward, eyes narrowing. On the screen, Benny jumped up onto his hind legs, nose twitching, staring at the tablet. Then, using his paw, he reached up, tapping the screen several times. Harold's jaw dropped. The video showed Benny pressing random buttons, sniffing at the glowing screen with fascination. But the most shocking part? He managed to reorder the dog treats, just as he had seen Harold and Lisa do days before. As if that wasn't enough, Benny then nudged the peanut butter jar with his nose, looking at the screen expectantly, waiting. Harold stared at the screen in disbelief. His dog, his snack-obsessed dog, had figured out how to shop online. Harold rubbed his face, muttering to himself, "Oh, for crying out loud." He looked over at Benny, who sat there with his usual innocent expression, tail thumping against the floor. "You little con artist," Harold said, unable to stop a chuckle from escaping. Benny wagged his tail harder, as if proud of himself. Harold sighed. He had spent his whole life believing that technology was making people lazy, but he had never considered the possibility that even a dog could learn how to take advantage of it. As funny as it was, the situation needed to be handled. Benny clearly understood cause and effect, and if Harold didn't put a stop to this soon, he might wake up to find the fridge restocked with nothing but peanut butter and dog biscuits. The problem was, how exactly do you outsmart a dog who has figured out how to online shop? Harold had a feeling he was about to find out. Harold Thompson had lived through a lot in his 65 years. He had seen technology evolve from rotary phones to the internet, from handwritten letters to text messages. But never, in all his years, had he imagined he would be outwitted by a dog. Yet, here he was, watching his 6-year-old golden retriever, Benny, outsmart him at every turn. Benny had unlocked the power of online shopping, and Harold was quickly realizing he had a problem on his hands. At first, Harold assumed Benny's online ordering had been a lucky accident, a series of random taps that had coincidentally resulted in a purchase. But as the days passed, Harold noticed something unsettling. Benny was getting better at it. After Harold had discovered the first few orders, he started keeping a close watch on the tablet. He set it on a high shelf, out of Benny's reach. That seemed to work until Harold woke up one morning and found the tablet on the floor, screen still glowing. A new order had been placed, 2 family-sized jars of peanut butter and a pack of organic beef jerky. Harold narrowed his eyes at Benny, who sat by the counter, wagging his tail innocently. "You little rascal," Harold muttered. Benny thumped his tail against the floor. Harold sighed and looked up at the shelf. "How the heck did you get that down?" Then he saw it. One of the kitchen chairs had been nudged slightly out of place. Benny, clever as ever, had dragged a chair over, climbed up, and retrieved the tablet. The dog was thinking ahead. Harold decided to take stronger measures. He locked the tablet in a drawer, feeling satisfied with his newfound security. Problem solved. Or so he thought. The next evening, as Harold sat reading on the porch, he heard the familiar sound of Amazon's order confirmation chime. His stomach dropped. He rushed inside, pulled open the drawer. The tablet was still there. He checked his phone. A new order had been placed, a variety pack of premium dog biscuits. Harold turned slowly and locked eyes with Benny, who sat next to the voice assistant device, tail wagging. Harold's mouth fell open. Oh, for heaven's sake! Benny had bypassed the tablet entirely. He had figured out how to use voice commands. With his new method unlocked, Benny's ordering became relentless. A box of bacon-flavored dog treats arrived on Tuesday. A deluxe chew toy set showed up on Thursday. 3 pizzas from the local pizzeria were delivered on Friday night. The pizza delivery had been the breaking point. Harold had just finished dinner when the doorbell rang. He opened the door to find a teenage pizza delivery boy standing there with a stack of 3 large pizzas. "Mr. Thompson?" the boy asked, holding out the receipt. Harold frowned. "I didn't order pizza." The delivery boy scratched his head. "Ah, it says here you did. Paid online." Harold glanced down at Benny, sitting at his feet, panting happily. "You've got to be kidding me." Benny wagged his tail and licked his lips. Harold groaned, took the pizzas, and handed the kid a tip. The moment the door shut, Benny jumped up excitedly. "Oh no," Harold said firmly. "You don't get a single slice of this, you hear me? Not one." Benny whined, pawing at Harold's leg. Harold sighed. Fine. One bite. Just one. Harold went to war against Benny's online shopping habit. He disabled voice purchases, thinking that would put an end to it. But the next night, he caught Benny dragging the tablet across the floor, trying to unlock it with his paw. Nice try, buddy, Harold said, snatching it up. But I've got a password on it now. Benny huffed dramatically, plopping down with a defeated sigh. Harold thought he had finally won. Until Lisa called. Dad, she said, stifling laughter, why did I just get an email about an order for a $75 assorted cheese basket? Harold rubbed his forehead. I'll give you one guess. The last straw came when Harold went into town for groceries. He returned home to find a giant package on the porch. Confused, he dragged it inside and opened it. Inside was a dog-sized recliner. A full-sized, luxury, orthopedic recliner for a dog. Benny trotted up beside him, his tail wagging. Harold turned slowly to his dog. Benny. Benny jumped into the recliner and curled up immediately, looking pleased with himself. Harold covered his face with his hands. Harold sat down, watching Benny stretch happily in his new chair. At first, he had been frustrated. His dog had outwitted him, run up charges on his credit card, and nearly bankrupted him on dog treats. But then, as he looked at Benny, something else occurred to him. Benny hadn't just been ordering food. Benny had been ordering comfort. When Lisa left, Benny had started ordering things he associated with happiness: treats, peanut butter, toys, even a recliner to sit next to Harold's own chair. It wasn't just about snacks. It was about companionship. Harold reached over and scratched Benny's ears. You're not just a snack thief, are you, buddy? He murmured. You just don't like being alone. Benny nuzzled into Harold's hand, letting out a contented sigh. Harold sighed, shaking his head. Well, I guess that means I owe you some more walks and belly rubs, huh? Benny wagged his tail enthusiastically. Harold chuckled. But if you ever order another pizza without me, I swear, I'm changing the Wi-Fi password. Benny barked happily. Harold had a sneaking suspicion that even that wouldn't stop him. Harold had always considered himself a man of patience. He had spent years teaching history to rowdy high school students, had raised a daughter through her stubborn teenage years, and had even nursed his late wife through a long illness. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared him for the chaos caused by a golden retriever with an online shopping addiction. Benny was no longer just a casual online shopper. He was a full-blown mastermind, finding new ways to outmaneuver Harold at every turn. And Harold? He was at war with his own dog. Even after Harold disabled voice purchases and set a password on the tablet, Benny found loopholes. One morning, Harold woke up to find another package on the porch. Inside, a bulk order of 50 assorted chew toys. Harold checked his account. The order had been placed from his desktop computer, a device Benny had never touched before. That's when Harold noticed scratch marks on the office chair. Benny had jumped onto the chair, used his nose to wake up the computer, and somehow clicked his way into a reorder. Harold was dumbfounded. This dog is running an underground snack empire. Benny wagged his tail proudly. One evening, Harold settled into his recliner with a good book. For the first time in weeks, the house was quiet. Peaceful. Then the doorbell rang. Harold opened it to find 4 delivery drivers standing there, holding a mountain of boxes. Mr. Thompson, one of them asked. Ah, this is all yours? Harold stared in horror as the men unloaded dozens of packages onto his porch. One driver checked his list. Let's see, we've got 6 pounds of beef jerky, a case of peanut butter, 2 orthopedic dog beds, a set of steak knives, Harold blinked. Wait, steak knives? The driver shrugged. Yep. Oh, and a $200 luxury dog grooming kit. Harold's stomach sank. Slowly, he turned and looked at Benny, who sat at the door, wagging his tail, clearly thrilled with himself. Harold closed his eyes and muttered under his breath, I'm going to have to sell the house at this rate. News of Benny's shopping addiction spread fast. The local grocery store manager called, wondering why Harold had ordered 10 pounds of premium ribeye steaks. Harold had to explain to his neighbor, Ed, why a robotic vacuum with Ed's address had mysteriously ended up on Harold's porch. Then, the newspaper got wind of it. One morning, Harold opened his front door to find a reporter standing on his porch. Mr. Thompson, I'm from the Billings Gazette, the young woman said, trying not to laugh. We heard about your, talented dog. Harold sighed. Let me guess. You want to write an article called The Dog Who Outsmarted His Owner. The reporter grinned. Actually, we were thinking of calling it Montana's Smartest Chopper Has 4 Legs. Harold groaned. Benny? He soaked up the attention. The moment the reporter kneeled down to pet him, he rolled onto his back, tongue lolling out, enjoying every second. The situation reached its peak one Saturday morning. Harold was out in the backyard chopping firewood when he heard a truck pulling up the driveway. He wiped his forehead and turned, only to see a large, 18-wheeler delivery truck backing up toward his house. A man in a uniform hopped out. Mr. Thompson? Harold felt his soul leave his body. Yeah? The driver handed him a clipboard. We've got a shipment of 40 bags of gourmet dog food. Harold almost dropped the axe. 40? Yep, the driver confirmed. Says here it was ordered online. Harold turned slowly and glared at Benny. Benny was already sitting by the porch, tail wagging, waiting for his gourmet feast. That was it. Harold had put up with weeks of deliveries. He had laughed it off. He had tried to outsmart the dog. But this was war. That afternoon, Harold took drastic action. He disconnected the Wi-Fi. He removed the voice assistant. He locked the tablet in the gun safe. Benny watched all of this unfold with deep concern. When Harold unplugged the router, Benny tilted his head, looking deeply betrayed. Harold crossed his arms. Oh, don't you give me that look. You brought this on yourself. Benny sighed dramatically and flopped onto the floor. Without internet access, Benny had to return to old-fashioned entertainment. Harold took him on long walks through the woods, and Benny, though initially grumpy about his loss of online privileges, soon rediscovered the joys of real-life adventures. They spent evenings by the fireplace, Harold reading and Benny curled up at his feet, no longer distracted by the lure of instant online purchases. One evening, Harold looked down at Benny and smiled. You know, buddy, he said, rubbing Benny's ears, maybe you weren't just shopping for food. Maybe you were just looking for ways to keep me paying attention. Benny nuzzled Harold's hand, letting out a happy sigh. Harold chuckled. Well, congratulations. You won. But if you ever figure out how to order things again, I swear, I'm moving to a cabin with no electricity. Benny thumped his tail against the floor, and Harold had a suspicion that his troublemaking days weren't entirely over. The house was quiet again. No more unexpected packages, no more pizza deliveries, and, thankfully, no more bulk orders of gourmet dog food. For the first time in weeks, Harold felt like he had regained control of his own home. Benny, however, wasn't thrilled about it. Since Harold had shut down his online access, Benny had gone through what could only be described as withdrawal. The first few days, he had sulked around the house, occasionally staring at the unplugged Wi-Fi router as if willing it to turn back on. He'd nudged the tablet drawer with his nose, huffing when it wouldn't open. But eventually, Benny adjusted. With online shopping no longer an option, Benny returned to his old habits, running through the yard, chasing rabbits he would never catch, and curling up at Harold's feet during the long Montana evenings. The house, once buzzing with constant deliveries, now felt peaceful again. Yet, as much as Harold appreciated the quiet, something gnawed at him. One evening, as he sat by the fire, he caught Benny watching him. "What's the matter, buddy?" Harold asked, scratching behind Benny's ears. The dog sighed, resting his head on Harold's knee. And just like that, Harold realized something. This hadn't just been about food. Sure, Benny loved snacks, but what if all of this, the ordering, the excitement of deliveries, hadn't been about the treats at all? What if it had been about keeping himself occupied? About keeping Harold's attention? Harold had spent years alone in that house, content with his routine. But Benny? Benny had no job, no way to entertain himself other than following Harold around. Maybe, in his own strange way, he had been looking for something to do. And Harold? He had been too stuck in his ways to notice. The next morning, Harold made a change. He didn't plug the Wi-Fi back in, not yet, but he did something just as surprising. He grabbed Benny's leash. "Come on," he said. "We're going into town." Benny's ears perked up, his tail wagging excitedly. For the first time in a long time, Harold took Benny into town for no reason other than to let him explore. They stopped at the small general store, where the owner, an old friend of Harold's, laughed when he saw them. "Well, if it isn't Montana's most famous shopper," the man chuckled, reaching behind the counter to grab a dog biscuit. Benny sat obediently, wagging his tail. Harold shook his head. "If you give him that, he'll probably try to order a whole case of them later." The man laughed, handing Benny the treat anyway. But instead of just heading back home, Harold lingered. He let Benny sniff around the streets, meet new people, and even sit on a bench in the park. And as Harold watched Benny take in the world around him, he felt something shift. Benny didn't need constant treats. He didn't need a pile of deliveries arriving every day. What he needed, what they both needed, was connection. Harold had always thought he was doing just fine on his own. But in reality, Benny had been the one making sure neither of them got too lonely. That night, as they sat by the fire, Harold finally spoke aloud the thought that had been circling his mind for days. "You weren't just shopping for food, were you, buddy?" Benny lifted his head, looking at Harold with those warm brown eyes. "You were just trying to make life a little more exciting," Harold said. "For both of us." Benny thumped his tail against the floor. Harold sighed, rubbing his dog's head. "Well, I guess I can't blame you for that." He reached into his pocket and pulled out one single dog treat. Benny's tail went into overdrive. "Just one," Harold said, holding it up. "Because we both need to learn a little moderation." Benny gently took the treat, chewing happily. "And Harold?" He chuckled to himself, feeling lighter than he had in weeks. Because for all the chaos Benny had caused, the dog had taught him an important lesson. Sometimes, what we think we want isn't more stuff. Sometimes, what we really need is just a little more time together. Life had settled into a new kind of normal in the Thompson household. Benny no longer had access to the tablet, the Wi-Fi stayed password protected, and Harold monitored his dog much more closely, especially when it came to anything involving online purchases. But Benny still got his fair share of treats, just not from Amazon. Instead of deliveries, Harold made a habit of picking up Benny's favorite snacks himself when he went into town. The local store clerks greeted Benny by name, and every trip turned into a small adventure. The deliveries had stopped, but the excitement? That remained. Harold had also made a few changes himself. For years, he had been set in his ways, content with solitude and the predictability of his quiet life. But Benny had shown him something important, that life was meant to be enjoyed, that a little chaos wasn't the worst thing, and that companionship was worth making room for. Harold still wasn't sure if he liked technology any more than before. But he had to admit, it had given him one heck of a story to tell. One evening, as Harold settled into his chair, he looked down at Benny, who was curled up beside him. "Well, buddy," Harold mused, rubbing the dog's head, "you certainly made life interesting for a while." Benny let out a happy sigh, eyes half closed. Harold smirked. "So, what are you gonna order next?" At the sound of order, Benny's tail gave an eager wag. Harold chuckled, but then froze as he noticed something. On the tablet screen, still open on the coffee table, sat an Amazon page. Displayed prominently was an extra-large, orthopedic, dog-sized recliner. Harold's mouth fell open. "Oh, for crying out loud." Benny wagged his tail harder. The camera zooms in on the screen as Harold lets out a groan. As Harold sat beside Benny, watching the fire flicker in the dimly lit room, he couldn't help but reflect on the whirlwind of events that had unfolded over the past few weeks. What had started as a ridiculous, almost unbelievable problem had turned into something far more meaningful. Benny's obsession with online shopping the dog wasn't just ordering treats for the sake of eating. He had been looking for attention, for connection, for something to bring excitement into their quiet little world. Harold had always thought that as long as he and Benny shared the same space, the companionship was enough. But Benny had reminded him that presence wasn't the same as connection. Just engagement, adventure, and a sense of belonging. And Harold had been guilty of falling into a routine of solitude, But love, real companionship, takes effort. Benny had forced Harold to rethink the way he lived his life, too. In the end, it wasn't the online orders or the packages that mattered. It was the realization that even in the simplest moments, there was always an opportunity to grow. The takeaway: connection is more important than convenience. Life is meant to be enjoyed. Pay attention to the ones you love. So, Harold looked down at Benny, who lay contentedly at high. "Well, buddy," he said softly, "I guess you taught me a thing, Ben." And Harold knew, for all the trouble he had caused, Benny had been the best thing to ever happen to him.